Good afternoon, folks. Sorry, good morning, and welcome to the Racket Athlete Podcast, Racket Sports Performance, for another episode today. Now, we have on a gentleman, Mark Jeffereys, who I'll let him introduce himself shortly, but he is connected to England squash. Welcome to the show, Mark.
Hi, Chris. Great to be here. Thanks for that.
Awesome. Right, so let's crack on and actually ask, who is Mark Jeffereys? What does he do? What's he about? Where's his ethos at?
So, where do I start? So I'm currently chair of England Squash. I've been involved with them for a number of years now. I've been on the board for about 7 years, but I've been working with them for the last 12 or 13 years. My first involvement was when I was working at the University of Gloucestershire. We got involved with England Squash, along with a couple of other national governing bodies, to help develop their Level 4 award, their High Performance Award. And so I was involved in developing that award and in the delivery of it as well. And I've remained involved with the delivery of coach education at Level 3 and Level 4. And the area that I tend to deliver most is around youth and talent development, and also some stuff around skill acquisition as well.
Nice. So what has actually been happening with the youth development in England squash at the moment? How's it going for you guys?
It's going well. There's more that we need to do in terms of developing the number of players coming through. I think that's always the difficulty is having enough players coming through of the right level. We're working hard to sort of combat that, and we've recently changed our coach education system to be a little bit more focused on different areas. So we've gone away from just the level 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we've gone more sort of context specific. So what was previously the level 3 now is tailored towards talent development. So there's more stuff around, what is talent? How do we recognize it? How do we develop it? What are the things to look out for? And what are the pitfalls to look out for? But also then making sure that there's a strong sort of element of the technical and tactical parts of the game that need to be embedded at those younger ages, so they become habits and they can be built upon then as the player gets older.
I think as well what you're saying about developing tactical and technical, also youth performance as in physical performance as well. How important is that to you guys to be developing that as well?
I think physical performance is always going to be an important element of any athlete's development, but it's a lot of it is recognizing the stage and the age of the athlete and making sure that the training programs, etc., are relevant to the individual. I think we in sport in general base a lot around chronological age, and don't always take into account the actual physiological age of an individual. And then when you link that with their cognitive age, their social age, etc., I think we need to be just a little bit more cognizant of the different timescales that different individuals develop, and therefore be a little bit more tailored to the way we deliver our whole package really.
Yeah,
And I think this is one of the things that the new talent development award hopes to do, is just make coaches a little bit more aware of how we develop individuals as people as well as athletes.
absolutely. Yeah,
But absolutely take into account, you can get two chronologically aligned athletes who are very different in terms of their physical or
yeah, yeah,
sort of social cognitive development,
yeah,
etc. So we
absolutely.
just have to be aware of that.
Yeah, and so let's move on a bit. How do you, or how do we up the interest in squash for young people in this day and age? How, as a person that you're in England squash, you have lots of things going on. How can we get more people interested that are younger in this sport to keep it going?
I think we just need to get the sport in front of more eyes.
Yeah,
It's a fabulous sport, and we just need to get it in front of more people. Funnily enough, we had a board meeting yesterday, and we had a presentation from the club, Coolhurst Club, where we held the meeting, and they gave us a presentation around their junior development, and they've worked really hard to get into primary schools and secondary schools, and just take the sport into the schools. And I think we probably need to be a little bit more creative, how we can use, rebound walls, how we can use, sports halls, how we can use different
yeah,
spaces to introduce the sport to, a larger range of young people, and then bring them into squash clubs, leisure centres, etc., where we have the courts
yeah,
at a later time. But I think we have to get that introduction in place, but then almost have that ability to then keep their interest going. If they show interest, we need to keep that interest high. So how we get them then to get into clubs, how we get them to get into environments where they are able to play more regularly. We try and take away as many of the barriers as we can to them playing.
yeah,
So the cost, kit, equipment isn't a barrier for people.
yeah,
But the main thing we need to do is just get the game in front of more people, because once they take part in it, so many just fall in love with it. So we just need
yeah,
to get more people seeing it. Really, I think the Olympics is a great opportunity for us.
yes,
It'll get global attention during the Olympics, and
yeah,
hopefully we'll get a lot more eyes on it. And one of the things that we're looking to do at the minute is try and get ready for a surge of interest, so that we can signpost people to where there are opportunities to play the game. And I think we
hmm
have to be prepared for that.
yeah. I think it's like you said, with it going on a global stage, it's going to see a lot more eyes in the game, and it's going to give every country that's involved in squash another opportunity to bring more youth in, more even adults that are wanting to start playing as well. And that's going to encourage the game to be more promoted more as well, which is great. Um, so what programs? Obviously, you briefly spoke about your youth development programs for coaches for physical performance, but how do you, when you have your youth in these programs, how do you manage the lifestyle and how they develop as people and how they stay level as a person while they're doing these more intense programs that are putting them through different paces?
I think a lot of it is around giving the coaches the tools to be able to do that. at the end of the day, the people that the athletes see the most is their coach.
Yeah.
And so it's providing the coaches with the knowledge, the understanding, the ability to deal with youngsters who are going through potentially a lot of different transitions,
Hmm.
whether it's a transition from one age group to the next, or whether it's somebody going off to university, or whatever life stage it may be. It may be exams, it may be lots of other pressures that might come onto them from their home life, whatever it may be. It's
Yeah.
getting the coach to understand that if we coach the person and not just the athlete, we are probably more likely to see what some of these barriers that they might come across, or just sort of understand those transitions a little bit more, so that we can support them and help them, and be there for them, to make sure that their life is well balanced, because for youngsters, they are always going to be balancing things, whether it's
Yeah.
school, whether it's university, whatever it may be. They're always going to be balancing those things alongside their squash. Some of them may have to work as well, so
Yeah.
it's making sure that we understand the stresses and strains that each individual has.
Yeah. Excuse me. So that's a great thing you just mentioned there about the stresses and strains as well, because when you're developing as a person, and also when you're doing a sport and you're doing all the other things as a young person, it all comes at once a lot of the time. And it's obviously nowadays there's like lifestyle advisors and that go into the programs as well. And is that right as well? Is that how you guys work it?
Yeah, it's especially when they get into the sort of Aspire programs, etc. Then we have a number of sports psychologists who work with them, who are able to support them in terms of the different areas that we've just mentioned. And I think that's massively important. And I
Yeah.
think the lower down the pathway that we can introduce that support, the
Hmm.
better. We're
Yeah.
always, it's always resource dependent. That we have the right people, but that we have the resource to be able to provide. But yeah, the earlier down the pathway we're able to do that, the better. And I think as well, a lot of it is about the relationships that we develop with parents, so that the parents are able to support their children, in the best way possible, and getting the parents to understand how they can maximize their role in their child's
Yes.
development as well,
Yeah.
can be
Yeah.
a really important win as well.
Yeah, that's something else I was going to mention about, obviously educating the parents on how to help their child become better as a person as well as in their sport, um, with the guidance of sport psychologists or lifestyle advisors or performance advisors. Um, it's very important as well to have that aspect. Again, that comes into the balance thing. You have to have that balance of the support there at home, as
Yeah.
well as the support from the coaches and the psychologists and the advisors. It's getting that, as you say, it's getting that balance right. Um, so what gaps do you see on the grassroots squash at the moment, which could be developed more for the youth? Do you think? Do you see anything in particular?
Yeah, I think parent education actually is one, and I think the more that we are able to educate the parents, the better.
Yeah.
Um, and I think the other area that we probably need to find more solutions to is when we go and introduce the sport to the youngsters that we engage with, it's then how do we transition them to become squash enthusiasts and squash players once they have that understanding of the game. It's how
Yeah,
do we bring them into the right environments, whether that is in a local club, a local leisure centre, whatever it may be. It's how we can make those transitions as simple and straightforward as possible.
yeah,
Not always easy, and you know, resources are often an issue with that, in terms of
hmm,
whether they have to pay club membership, whether they have to pay court fees, whether they have to pay, for kit, equipment, etc.
yeah,
Um, there are definite issues for us to overcome, as it is for any sport. And quite often when we're working with sporty kids, they're not just
yeah,
interested in one sport. They want to be playing a number of sports, and that
yeah,
is exactly how it should be.
yes,
But then, when we're talking about balance, that then relies on parents to be taking them to a number of different things during the week.
yeah,
Often, two parents are working, etc. They're trying to balance things as well.
yeah,
So it's not always easy solutions, but I think that if we as a sport can make that as simple as possible, then that will be beneficial for us as a sport.
yeah, definitely. I think parent education is key. Obviously, giving the parents advice on how to, as we've spoke about, get them into the programs, get them doing various sports to see what obviously they want to do, but also in the squash realm, making it as simple as a solution as possible to get them to A to B from coaching to home every time and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely, and as well, the other elements of uh, parent education that I think, if parents want their children to be, top class squash players, it's also helping the parents to develop some independence,
Yes.
and autonomy within their youngsters as well.
Yeah.
um, because at times, as parents, we can look to make the path too smooth, and we do everything
Yes.
for them, and
Yes.
then when things get difficult for a youngster, they don't know how to deal with it. So
Yeah, exactly.
we need to develop some resilience in there as well.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
the talent development, it's not linear. There are always going to be bumps and strains along the way. It's then how we're able to allow the youngsters to be able to deal with those elements, that
Yeah.
is really important.
Yeah.
And actually having some bumps along the way is probably beneficial in the long run.
Yeah.
Although obviously we don't necessarily want to create those bumps, but
No.
actually teaching
Again.
youngsters how to deal with little setbacks is really important.
I think that's key to what you've just said there. It helps them develop resilience, also discipline, and
Yeah,
having to take decision making as well.
absolutely. And
Um,
I think, when you look at the top players, they show all those psychological characteristics. They are resilient. They can make decisions. They can, um, you know, deal with setbacks. They can bounce back. They're always motivated. They're
yeah,
organized, etc. It's important that we look to develop those skills amongst the
the youth
the pathway, so that as young athletes, they are developing those skills,
skills.
which are
Yeah.
definitely skills and
Yeah,
characteristics.
absolutely. Yeah, and they can be developed. That's a key thing, right? They can be developed. It's not like you if you don't have it, you're not going to get it.
No,
It's a skill. These are
absolutely.
these are all skills that can be developed. So resilience, decision making, dealing with setbacks, coming back from setbacks, discipline as well is also one you can develop through habits.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I'm gonna ask you this question about what's the link do you think between the transition from youth development to becoming a senior player?
I think it very much depends on the individual. We've seen we've seen it happen very quickly with some individuals, whereas with other individuals it takes longer, and I think it's down to the individual themselves, their maturity, sometimes their ability to deal with some of the things that we've just talked about.
Yeah.
In the fact that if they've been a very successful junior and then they transition into the senior game and are not immediately successful, that's a very different environment for them to be in.
Yes.
And so it's building expectations around that.
Yes.
It's making sure they have the resilience to deal with not having things the way that they've probably always had them as a junior. And some players are able to make that transition really well. Some players struggle with it and take a lot
Hmm.
longer to deal with it. So I think it very much depends on the individual and how well they're also sort of managed through that phase.
Right.
Because I think there is a there is a reliance on the coach and the
Yeah.
system that they're in. So for us as
Yeah.
England squad, there is a need for us to be supporting those players through
Yeah.
those transitions. And the coaches obviously play a really important part within that as well.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. So it's kind of again, it's finding getting the right combination between the coaches, the England squash, and the person as an individual to see what needs to be tailored to get
Yeah,
them to that transition
absolutely,
point. Yeah.
absolutely. And no one solution will fit everybody.
No. No.
We and we're lucky in squash to a certain extent in the fact that we're not dealing with huge numbers, and so we can get to know the athletes as individuals, and
Yeah.
I think our system has to be flexible and it has to be tailored to the individual.
Yeah.
It's really important that we're able to do that. So yeah, there is no one answer. It's very much about understanding the individual, both as a player and a person, how they deal with things, how they will psychologically deal with going from being very successful to not successful. How we focus on the processes that they're going through in terms of their game, of the technical transitions, the tactical transitions, etc. All of those things will play
Yeah.
a massive part.
Yeah. Makes sense. So final thing I'm going to ask you today, Mark, before we close the podcast. What would you say to a youth person or player that is in a position of um, either looking to start playing squash competitively and getting into a program like yourselves, or they're at a transition phase where they're like, do I go from junior to senior right now or not?
I think the most important thing is that they're enjoying what they're doing. If they're looking to get into the game and want to develop into a serious player, they have to enjoy the game. Um,
Yes, absolutely.
because if they don't enjoy the game, it's going to be really, really difficult for them to put in the hours of training, hours of practice, etc. So they have to have that enjoyment of the game, but also the desire to get better, be coachable, want to learn, want want
Yeah,
want to identify where they can get better.
Yeah.
It's having that growth mindset really that
Yes.
everybody talks about,
Yeah.
and it's important that nothing is set. We can get better at everything that we do if we
Yeah.
put our minds to it, and we actually put the time in, put the effort in, etc.
Yeah.
But for a young person, they have to be enjoying it. They have to be,
Yeah.
and sometimes you can get enjoyment out of really working hard. There's a difference sometimes between what people perceive as enjoyment and what people perceive as fun. Um,
Yes.
so actually, there's you can enjoy the sense of satisfaction that you might get out of doing a really grueling session,
Yeah.
because you're getting better. So there can be enjoyment in a number of different aspects of
The
sort of
game.
training and playing it, etc.
Hmm.
And so yeah, it's having that desire, I think, to want to improve, want to get better, listening to people, finding out as much as you can about different ways of improving, whether that's physically, whether that's psychologically, whether that's technically, tactically, etc.
Yeah.
It's having that desire to want to be as good as you can.
Absolutely. So Mark, where can people find you if they want to chat to you about squash or what you do at England Squash and things like that?
I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on most social media channels. So Mark Jeffereys, just look for me on any of those social media channels, and yeah, be happy to engage with anybody who's interested.
Nice. Okay, thanks for coming on today, Mark. That's been a great chat, and I'm grateful for you to come on.
Pleasure, Chris. It's been great to have the conversation. Thank you.
Okay, so that's another episode of the Racket Athlete Podcast, Racket Sports Performance. Have a great day, folks, and I'll speak to you soon.